Hello there beautiful, welcome back to the channel. My name is Joesephyr and welcome to the Should You Pull video for Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia. So this banner that we're talking about today is going to be the very last banner, as far as we know, before Shinryu and Efaria starts. And it's a little bit of a anticlimax, but we have King and Jegran reappearing with this particular banner. So if you'd like to find out more about King, his brand new LD, Jegran's EX Awakening and C90 update, and the event that comes with them, then stay tuned and keep on watching. Before we get started, of course, don't forget to check out all of my social media links in the description box down below, including Twitch, where you can find me streaming every Dissidia event as it goes live, as well as Final Fantasy Counter, where we've just started FF8, and I've just farmed a boatload of cards ready to really break that game in half, as well as Final Fantasy 14 and lots of other stuff. We've got Monster Hunter Sunbreak coming out, and I might be interested in streaming some of that, and just let me know in the comments below what kinds of things you'd like to see from me in the future. Of course, over on Patreon, I do shout out one of my patrons every time I release a video, and today that person is going to be Silent Chaos, who is brand new to my Patreon. A massive thank you goes out to you. And you have Zell on your title card, and it's always a pleasure to make these title cards for everybody, and if you're interested in getting one for yourself, it's all in the link in the description box below. Thank you ever so much for your support. And of course, don't forget to check out all of the other content creators and resources out there for Dissidia Opera Omnia, as they all deserve your love too. So let's get started with the banner itself. Now we only have the one banner obviously to talk about today, and this one is going to contain your probably last shot to get Vincent BT here, and then it's going to feature Jegran, his returning LD. I would very much imagine that a second banner will appear here with Jegran's BT here as well, and then you'll have your opportunity to get King and his brand new LD, and then Renoa EX is there to give an extra synergy character. So Jegran, still very much the same as he was. He wasn't released that long ago, like he doesn't have anything super special to speak of. Like he already had a BT plus and everything. He gets his C90 here and a slight rework where the only thing that his rework really adds is additional HP dumps to his entire kit. Now his LD does have 7 HP dumps on it, and then Crystal Fist has 3, so it does add up to a lot of damage, but realistically there's nothing that massively stands out about Jegran. Like, he's a bit of a meme character amongst the community. Is he completely useless? No, not at all. Like, I have one of my patrons who's actually a big fan of his and uses him quite a lot. But I don't personally gel with Jegran. All he really gets here from his C90 is additional HP dumps on pretty much everything, and that's all there is to really talk about with him. So if you didn't particularly like him before, you're not going to love him now, but if you used him before, you'll appreciate the extra HP dumps that he's gotten. And then when it comes to King, King is, again, just very single focus. He does damage and not an awful lot else. But he does do it in a particular way, and I should also say a big shout out to Leo, Bob and Medi for their translations over on Reddit. Oh, and before I forget, I actually made an error on my Edge video last time because I forgot to mention, and forgot completely, the fact that when he uses his smoke bomb, the lock lasts for 6 turns now rather than the 1 it used to, thanks to the extended debuffs attached to his LD. So I do apologise for that confusion, that was a mistake on my part. Anyways, going back to King, King's thing up until now and beyond now is the fact that his skills last for ages because of his reload ability, completely replenishing all skill uses of his rapid bullets attack. And with his EX, he, much like Lightning and other characters like her, would get a free turn after breaking an enemy. So now he gets a rework which is triple HP dumps and splash damage on rapid bullets. His reload now unbreaks an enemy, so he can then use reload and then use another skill after it, which is very nice, and again refills all of his rapid bullets stacks. His endless waltz does a lot of damage, like just a lot of HP dumps, 7 in fact, and then it just goes on and on and on. The recast rate has been increased. His less talk, more action buff, which is the buff that enables him to get the additional turns after breaking, has been extended, and he just does damage very quickly with that stuff. His LD also unbreaks enemies, so it's going to be another way that he guarantees getting multiple skills. and he gets 4 HP, dumps off of this, and then obviously gets a follow-up turn straight after it, and he gets a new buff from this called Rock and Roll, which is your typical offensive buff, so damage up, HP damage percent up, etc. And it changes its HP attack into double bullets, which is rapid bullets twice. And it uses 2 skill uses of rapid bullets, so it's literally just using the same skill twice. It's not bad. Like, the damage that he can churn out, particularly on a single target, is very high. But that is pretty much all he does. Like, there is no party-wide benefits, really. There's no crazy turn manipulation. Like, yes, he can, like, do re-breaks with his LD and reload, but they are not skills that you want to be using overly regularly. You're probably just going to be using double bullets and hoping that you get a re-break on it. If you have Sephiroth, of course, then you get to benefit from that very heavily when it comes to King. But other than that, I think that King is so linear that his banner, and him in general, while high damaging, is a little bit of an anticlimax when the next thing we're going to see is going to be Kain, FR, and Shinryu. Now moving on over to the event itself, and obviously a big shout out to DissidiaCompendium.com here for the information presented here, and honestly, this event's a little bit of an anticlimax as well. Like, it's really quite easy. The Behemoth that we're fighting here, mechanics-wise, it's very simple. It throws out HP attacks very regularly, and it can buff itself with HP regens, etc. So you can bring along a Dispeller if you want to. And it also jumps turns and takes 3 turns, much like Safer Sephiroth did at 50%, 49%, and 29%. So you're going to have to tank some hits. Other than that, that's pretty much all he does. And the mechanic of the Lufenia Orb is to increase the number of skills that you get, so recover skills through another skill use, and have to do at least 2 or more. Now, while I think this event is a bit anticlimactic and a bit boring, it does, however, present me with the opportunity to kind of go back through some of the characters that I've loved using and kind of make a best of situation that's pretty much guaranteed to work within this event. So there's loads of characters that can recover 2 or more skills in one go, and because it's plus 20, you're not going to have to do it very frequently. You could do it with AA abilities, so with characters like Quistis or Ico. Galoof can do it as well, and Galoof obviously covers being able to like take damage if need be. You have characters with their LDs that do it, Squall, Kuja, there's or Shulk even, if you wanted to use her. Or you could do characters like Vayne or Ishtola who do it off their EX, although just bear in mind that while a lot of people use Vayne for this event, Vayne's damage is a little bit lacking. This coming from somebody who truly loves Vayne. His damage is a little bit lacking at this day and age for 40 million HP, so do bear that in mind and maybe bring some sort of backup damage dealer like Shulk or Galoof or something to augment that. But he is going to be your most consistent way of doing it. Me personally, I'm probably, like I said, going to use this as a best of kind of situation when it comes to Lufenia Plus and the end of this era. Because I can take Alphino here, because it's going to be my last ride with Alphino before we go on to FR era and I can move on. I'm probably going to bring Kuja, honestly, as my character with the orb, etc. Because he can recover skills very quickly with his LD, and he at least has a BT effect. And then probably Emperor, or it would either be Emperor or Vayne. Probably Emperor because Kuja's damage isn't great either. So I'll probably bring Emperor along and just have like the ability to run all of my favourites. And even include Warrior of Light because his LD call on, say, Kuja is going to protect me during those times where the Behemoth comes in and tries to attack me. Alongside Alphino's Sap as well. So I think this could be a really fun way to kind of explore the characters you've enjoyed most throughout this late era and kind of bring them together in a best of situation for an event that's largely very easy. So now, of course, we have Would You Pull, the section of the video where you, the viewer, get your chance to let your voice be heard and tell everyone whether you would pull on any given banner and why that might be the case. So, first of all, a massive thank you to all of my patrons for casting their votes and their comments. It's wonderful to get you guys' opinions and showcase those to everybody as well as my own. So let's go straight into the numbers that we have here. Nobody's pulling gems on this banner. I think that this is probably the easiest gem skip banner that there is, honestly, or one that we've seen for a very long time. 24% of people are using 100 or more tickets, 20% of people are using less than 100 tickets, and 56% of people are saying no thank you. Now, personally, I am very firmly in the no thanks banner, having spent way more tickets than I should have done on Edge. And then eventually, look, I spent 500 tickets on Edge. Don't judge me. I know it was a wasteful thing to do, but I did it because I didn't feel great, which is, again, something I tell people not to do and did myself. And ended up getting Edge LD on a daily pull, which was crazy. So at least I have that now. But I want to recover some resources, so I'm definitely not going to be pulling on this one. But people who have an overabundance of resources, there's nothing wrong with throwing a few tickets here. Just be warned that you're probably not going to use King or Jegran for all that long. There are much more exciting characters on the horizon. So let's go into some comments. J-Dog says, both King and Jegran are empty units on my end, but even still, this is the most skippable banner we've had in a while. I'll be pocketing tickets and enhancement points for FR. Agreed. I don't have anything for Jegran or King either, and I probably won't be using anything here. Honestly, I'd say your only real reason to pull on this banner, if you were going to, is if you really like the characters, which, again, totally fair enough. I'm not here to tell you who your favourite characters are. B, if you're looking for Vincent BT and have already pulled everything else on these banners, then you could probably justify it. But other than that, I probably wouldn't bother. Silverhawk says, is it the last banner before FR? Then no. Oh wait, Jegran is here? Then heck no. But in all seriousness, neither of these units is worth pulling in general. All of my extra resources were used up during the DET9 banners, and being that this is the last one before a new era begins, those tend to be weak pulls anyway. King was great in the EX era, but this LD doesn't add much, and Jegran is, well, Jegran. I'm not missing anything by skipping here. I do think that Jegran gets a little bit more disdain than he possibly deserves. I'm not saying he's really good, but people talk about Jegran as if he's completely unusable, and I definitely don't think that that's the case. He has the most selfish BT effect, and that's really not a good look for him, I'll admit. But as a secondary sort of character that's there to just deal damage, I don't think he's that terrible. As, you know, considering that you're getting 7 HP dumps in his LD, 3 extras on top of that with Crystal Fist if you've got the BT effect active, he does have a lot of problems. But I understand why he's the meme that he is, and I wouldn't pull for him or anything, but I do think he gets a little bit more hate than he possibly deserves. And then finally, Goose says, I'm tossing up investing in King. His kit looked pretty bad till I remembered he gets free turns on break. So a break with his new HP plus is 12 HP dumps, single target with 4 splash dumps over 2 turns, which is pretty decent. Sounds like a fun character to try and get damage out of, but definitely not worth it for most people, unless you somehow missed all the single target damage dealers we've had recently. I think the irony with King is that he pairs up really well with a character like Sephiroth, who allows him to break all the time. But if you've got Sephiroth, you probably don't need King, because Sephiroth is very capable of dealing a lot of damage by himself, and happens to have a really powerful BT effect on top of it. So, you could pair them up together, but would you? Like, I think that it's a very interesting thing, because for you to get those 12 HP dumps from double bullets twice, he has to break something, which can be done, just in ways that you'd probably rather do it with other characters. So now for the last time in Lufenia Plus era, before we move on to Shinryu and FR, should you pull on this banner? Sadly, no, not really. King and Jegran do one thing, and one thing only, which is damage. They do a lot of brave shaving, and they do a solid amount of HP damage. But that's it, and that's a very easily replaceable thing in one's party, and going forward into FR era, you will find that characters that like taking multiple turns, like King, unless they have a very specific FR, don't tend to get used very often, because those 10 turns during force time are extremely valuable, so you'll find you'll be wanting to deal damage a lot in one turn rather than across multiple. Jegran is not great. Like, I know I tried to defend him earlier, but he's not great. If you like him, totally fair. Same goes for King, and you can actually pair King up, for the time being, with some fun little bits and pieces like Sephiroth or characters that unbreak enemies or anything like that, so that he's able to get the most out of his new double bullets mechanic. But honestly, I think the fact that this is the last banner that we get before FR and Shinryu, I find it a bit underwhelming and a little bit anticlimactic. It's a shame that this is the time the last thing we get to say hurrah to. If anything, I'm actually kind of hoping we get a little something before Kain. I don't think it's going to happen, but it'd be nice if it did. So, realistically, do I think that this banner is worth pulling on? No. That's not an all bad thing, though. I always think that a banner skipped is a banner saved, and that's not a bad thing. And 99% of cases, I just think that this one could have been a little bit more explosive, for want of a better word, to kind of leave the era behind. But you're probably going to be one of you saving for Kain, maybe Camlanor, or Tidus, something along those lines. So, honestly, having a skip banner is probably a good thing. So that's it for the Should You Pull series in Lufenia Plus era. The next time that we come back, we'll be looking into the next community stream, and hopefully we'll get loads of information on Kain and all sorts of other bits and pieces to do with Shinryu and FR era then. Let me know in the comments below which character you feel you've used most and enjoyed the most since Anniversary. For me, it's probably been Garnet. Like, I know that that's a bit shady in its own way because she's really overpowered, but the fact that Garnet is still as powerful as she is nearly 6 months later, it just baffles me. And the fact that she has Alexander, all of that stuff. But anyways, let me know who your favourite character is in the last 6 months. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, click the bell for notifications on any future videos I might be making. And that's going to be it from me. So thank you very much, beautiful. I'll see you later.